A very warm and gracious guests, esteemed faculty members, dignitaries, to all IIG 3-day international seminar on, on geography in the 21st century. Social Science Research, Ministry of Earth Science, Indian Council of World Affairs, Anusandhan National Research Foundation, DSTBT, National Bank of Agriculture and Rural Development, Numaligarh Refinery Limited, East Kolkata Wetlands Management Authority, and the West Bengal Pollution Control Board. We are also privileged to have the academic collaboration of Southfield College, Darjeeling, Chopra KP Smriti Mahavidyalaya, Sukanta Mahavidyalaya, Dhupguri, and Shahid Khudiram College, Lakhyaguri. Acknowledge the valuable Mukherjee Hospital and our hospitality partners, Sumi Yashri Group, without whom this event would not have. And on behalf of the entire organizing committee, I express my gratitude for being a part of this journey with us. The first 2 days sparked insightful discussions and connections, and I'm pretty confident and sure that the last day shall be equally impactful and deliberations. Move on to the fifth plenary session. The session will be chaired by Professor Sunanda Bandapati. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. In this fifth session of the plenary lectures, we start with Professor Vishalnath Upreti. I believe he was placed in the next session, but he has some flight to catch. So, Professor Upreti, and he will speak on the earthquake hazard and Himalayan implications in Nepal and Eastern Himalaya. He is from the Institute of Science and Technology, Nepal. So, all of the speakers would have 18 minutes. On the 15 minutes I will run. And please complete within the next 2 minutes. Please. Don't exceed 18 minutes, please.
Yes. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and Chair. I'm going to speak today on this planet for long time, unless we are transferred to Mars sometime in future, as you know, some great scientists or I can live with this, whether it's cyclone or earthquakes or pandemics, anything that might occur. So, before I go to the presentation, just 1 minute, I wanted to give you the view of the Himalayan tectonics, which is, you can get it in the website, but I think it will be very useful for you to give the background of the tectonics of the Himalaya and the earthquake. Yeah.
The African, Arabian, and Indian plates collide with the southern margin of the Eurasian plate along a 1,200-kilometer convergent boundary. This has resulted in a mountain chain that stretches from the Alps to the Himalayas. Whereas divergent, transform, and subduction zone plate boundaries produce relatively narrow belts of earthquakes, continent-continent collision produces broad earthquake zones. Let's go back 60 million years to understand the plate tectonic history of the Himalayan region. About 50 million years ago, the Indian continent collided with southern Eurasia and began constructing the Himalayas and the Tibetan Plateau, the highest mountain range and the largest continental plateau on Earth. Regional compression produces broadly distributed earthquakes north of the 2,900-kilometer Himalayan plate boundary. However, the historical earthquake record indicates that the largest earthquakes, shown by their red
Thank you. Next. So, before 2015 earthquake, the scientists forecasted that there will be a big earthquake in Nepal, western Nepal or eastern Nepal somewhere, but particularly it was in the western Nepal that we were expecting. But we did not really forecast this 2015 earthquake. It was something came up in between without much, our understanding, which occurred in the same place, 1833 and 2015, so short period of time, 7.8 magnitude. So, but one thing was there, for almost 10 to 15 years, we were, working so hard to convince the government, the public and everyone for preparedness of this great earthquake, or the earthquake that, supposed to be 8.2 over magnitude. So what happened was, because of that, government was conscious, and we did a lot of work. But then came this 2015 earthquake. Though we didn't expect that large earthquake, or what we call great earthquakes, but that preparation helped us to cope up with this earthquake at exactly the time when we were almost prepared for that. So therefore, rescue relief operations went so well, that we are very proud of it. Then this happened. This is the area where we live. You see, the more red is more vulnerable in a way when you talk about the damage. When you have an earthquake of a large magnitude or a small magnitude, normally shaking is very strong in these areas, and you can see it goes all the way to Delhi. It's when you have an earthquake in Nepal or in Kumaon, and the Delhi is shaken so strongly and a lot of damage can occur. We have large earthquakes in the Himalaya as well as in Shillong, which is not part of the Himalaya but very close to the Himalaya. Perhaps it has some relation with the Himalaya. And you can see that some of the largest earthquakes, I'm not talking about 1100 earthquakes, which was also there a long time before, but more recent, well, I can call it recent in the sense that, it's only 1505, 8.5 magnitude in the western Nepal area. Then you have Shillong earthquakes, very, very big earthquake, in Shillong Plateau. Then you have 1934 earthquake, many of you might know, it is 8.4, 8.3, people call it, but this was a big earthquake that occurred in Nepal. Epicenter was in Nepal, but then it damaged a lot in, Bihar, and a lot of even shaking in Calcutta. Then you have the Assam earthquake, 8.6, which is the first largest earthquake in the Himalaya, which was instrumentally recorded. So that means, we know much better about this earthquake. But fortunately, at those times, there were not much population, and, it was more remote areas, so loss of life was less. But then, it was really, really big earthquake. Then you have the Kashmir earthquake, 80,000 people died, as you know, and it was not very big, 7.6. Kathmandu was 7.8 earthquake, or the Nepal earthquake was 7.8. We call it Gorkha earthquake. And then, but damage was much less, of course, 9,000 people. But, it was luck for Nepal that, it was in the daytime, holiday, no schools, and at 12 o'clock, midday, and there are so many factors. Also, the nature of the waves that saved us, otherwise it would have been 90,000 people died during that earthquake. So, you see, the earthquakes are really, really, very... this I will not show you because, I don't have time. It's just to show, how, these things, India was formed, which I have already shown you. How these plates move is all internal structure. That, you have the internal dynamics of the earth is so strong. And then you have these convection currents are coming up from below, and then they turn apart the lithosphere, the topmost layer of the earth, and produce these plates, and they are constantly moving in different directions. They collide, they go away each other, they pass each other, and then they produce these earthquakes. Now in Himalaya, it is the collision of Indian plate and the Eurasian plate that produces these great earthquakes. Knowledge on Himalaya, seismic knowledge on the Himalaya is very recent. Actually, well, in India, you had some few stations here and there, but we first in Nepal, we had in 1978, the first instrument was installed, and then continuously for the last 45 years we have been monitoring. This is one of the best known part of the Himalaya where continuous monitoring of these seismic activities from the most smallest one to the big one. So therefore, this is a complete record of the earthquakes within the Himalaya, so that we know much better about with this study that today we know the more details of the structures within the Himalaya and the mechanism of the earthquake. So after almost 15 years, only we came to know approximately what is the structure within the Himalaya, and it was in 1995. So, and in the meantime, what happened was also GPS stations established almost at the same time. Then we came to know what is the real movement, this rate of movement of the Indian plate, as well as what is the vertical movement. So that was very, very precise in terms of millimeters that we started getting these data. And that was a big, advancement in the understanding of the Himalaya. Just to show you, those who are not geologists, Himalayas, in a way, they are sliced into different slices, and all these slices merge below what we call main Himalayan thrust. So, today, the earthquake's origin occurs within that MHD. I'll show you another structure. Well, these are some of the stations. Right now, we have about 40-45 stations within the Himalaya in a small area, and also you can see the measurements of the earthquakes. Almost every day you have about 4 earthquakes, small earthquakes, all measuring, so that we have a very good understanding of the internal structure beneath this area. And I was talking about the GPS, GNSS. So we had about 40 stations, again, about the GPS, but then these blocks are the stations where I started with the Nepal Academy of Science and Technology. We have 11 stations, and we wanted to have a series of north-south sections where we wanted to see how the north-south sections behaves. And that was a wonderful result. And also we established one station in the Nepal Academy a long time before, and that was a marvelous piece of stations which gave us the result after the 2015 earthquakes, during the 2015 earthquake, and I'll show you some of the results of that. And so north-south section when we had, but this was a broader section. What you see, these red zones are where the stress is building up. The energy is stored in these areas, and whenever we have big earthquakes, these energies are released. So all over the Himalaya, around 3,500 meters above, as a zone where energy is always stored there during interseismic period. And we did this under that 11 stations under Nepal Academy. You can see within about 7-8 years how the Indian plate moves. 37.2 in the plains, then 36, 34, 33, 29. So when you go to the higher level, there it's not moving at the same rate. That means what happens? That 4 centimeter per year is accommodated vertically. So it is moving slowly, but then also going up. But if you see here in the south, there is no vertical movement, it is just plain. So this was the result. And then, what happens there? 2.8 to 4.8, that means they are rising up during that period. So I was to show this result, and then so you see, we are heading towards a big earthquake in the future. And that is the storage of the energy, where that was there. So finally, that energy was released. And what I said that in the higher Himalaya, how when you push something, it not only moves horizontally, if it is blocked, it also goes up. So here you see, at this place it is locked. I can't show you the pointer, okay, here. It is locked. From here to here, it slides as it is, 37, 38, 4 centimeter per year. But from here to here, it is locked. And then time to time, it slips, and then you have the earthquake. So what happens is here, next. So what happens is here, that energy is stored, it goes up. When this slips, the energy is released, and then it comes down. So that is the mechanism of the earthquake. So it is what happens. You see here, the earthquake is after the earthquake, there is very little energy left there. And then it goes on increasing the energy as it pushed, energy is accumulated more. And then there is a tipping point, critical point, where all that energy will be released during the movement, during the slips. And then finally what will happen? Energy is all gone out, and then you have the earthquake, energy in the form of elastic waves, and then you have very little energy. So this is how it's the earthquake generated. So with these data of seismic data, we have these under earth, under Nepal, the structures. We know exactly where is the MHT, and then most important thing is the earthquakes occur above that ramp, okay, not at that place. So I will show you some more data, and also at the same time I'll tell you how these forecastings were done. Was we started somewhere in the 1990s about the trenching of the active faults where the earthquakes occur. They come out near the surface in the foot of the Himalaya, and you see these faults. This is Kakarvita there. You see, and then this is how we trench, and then find the dates of these past earthquakes, and then make the sequence. Okay, and out of that, we have now a lot of work done in India as well as in Nepal, and based on this, we are now forecasting the earthquakes. Now, what we see normally is that the 6.5, even up to 7 magnitudes can occur anywhere along the Himalaya. Here, but then the large earthquakes, more than 8 magnitude earthquakes, is supposed to occur every 1,000 years, approximately. It could be even less or more. That is the understanding right now we have. That means wherever you have an earthquake, the last earthquake was only, let's say, 1,000 years. So you must expect that, in the near future, you must have a large earthquake. I'm not talking about 6, 6.5, 7, even 7.8 magnitude Gorkha earthquake, Nepal earthquake. I'm talking about the great earthquakes like Assam and Shillong and 1934 earthquakes. How, based on that, we have come to this. This is what happened in the 15 Gorkha earthquake. Can you see that? The red line, there was a movement, the MHT. You remember that yellow color. So that's how it happened. Okay. Then, what actually happens during the earthquake is like this. Can you just play the video? No? Down you have that. So I don't want to waste time. I wanted to show you how these are pushed and pulled. Okay, then click it, and then you see the play down. I don't want to waste time. I have a few minutes left. Okay. Oh yeah, it's coming. You see how it's happening. And now you have the earthquake. And you see it's like a spring. The top part is like a spring. During the earthquake, it closes, and then when the earthquake occurs, and then it slips. You can repeat it again so that you see how the creeping down and then locked part. It's you see, and then it moves. Anyway, this is what is the earthquake. So after the earthquake of 2015, can you see Kathmandu has moved 1.5 meters southward horizontally, and upward it is almost 0.75 meters. So Kathmandu is not at the same place after the 2015 earthquake. It has moved south, it has moved higher. Okay, so this is what, and then northern ward, which was rising up. You remember that it pushed up, that has come down now because the energy is all reduced, spent. We have 2 GPS stations where showing during the earthquake. You see here, one is within the Kathmandu, one is in the hills. And you see Kathmandu is moving still. The hill is already stopped, but then it's moving. So when you have the lake deposits, also in Tarai, in plain areas, this will happen. So shaking is longer and bigger so that more damage occurs than in the hills, in the rocky areas. So you see that, same thing I want to show you another one. You see here how long it will remain, Kathmandu Valley, and that was given by that last, the GPS station that I showed you before. And another one, can you see this one, what happens? So if you have a GPS station, you can show how exactly this happened. That was the NAS station. And you see during the earthquake, this is before the earthquake, that red one is that station in NAS. You see, people are moving very gently. Now, slowly, it's moving. The first P wave might have come. Now people know that, oh, there is an earthquake. And then you see the movement, it goes like this, it goes like this. People are moving in the same direction. Again, they come. So you see that how it's catched up during that, earthquake. And also the GPS stations have given us that idea, how it's moving. And you see it's moving for so long time and it settles very long so that it gets more damage of this. Now I say the great Nepal earthquake 20XX, I think it is almost over. Can I take another 1 minute and then finish it? Yeah, so I give it this name, maybe within 2000, this century or even earlier. And you see, I said 1,000 years is a big gap where we call it seismic gap. If it is not there for 1,000 years, there is definitely a big earthquake is in the making. So Western Nepal, 500 years. 1505 earthquake, 1505 earthquake that occurred, a large earthquake, 8.5, 8.6, 8.4, we don't know exactly, but very large earthquake, depending upon the trenching with Eastern Nepal, no earthquakes for the last 800 years. Now we have found in Sikkim, south of Sikkim, that it is almost 1200 years. Now this is what is scary, that 1200 years of time, that means it is due any time that this large earthquake of 8.4, 8.3, 8.5, whatever it may be, like Assam, earthquake can occur. So therefore, we are so much concerned. And I saw those gaps, Kathmandu to that one. We had 3 big earthquakes there, but even there, 6.5, 7 earthquakes, you cannot rule out. Any time that can happen, okay? So this is what is, I'm just having 2-3 slides and then I'll finish it. And you can see that the seismic gaps, those blue gaps, are the places where you have the next big earthquake. That means over 8 magnitude of it. I'm not talking about below 8, what we call great earthquakes where you have thousands and thousands of people die. You see, that part, this part, and then Eastern Nepal, you see 1934 earthquake in between Sikkim and Eastern Nepal. This is where we have real challenge. And then in Bhutan and Arunachal, that area also is there, but we are not very sure about it. Then once you cross 2015 earthquake zone, Western Nepal is completely blank again. 500 years we know, so there is always possibility of large earthquakes. And then also further up in Kumaon, Garhwal, and then further west. 2005 already Assam, this Kashmir earthquake occurred. Now, this is a prediction, this is a forecast by Wilhelm in 2019. Now this is only one slide left, and you can see if it is Bhutan 8.4, but we have little doubt about it, but then you see Sikkim 8.4 and Eastern Nepal. Now if that happens, it is something like a big, okay, then Central Nepal and all that. So this is the forecast that we have today. And if that happens, what will be the number of people dying? This is again estimate. It depends on so many factors, night, day, all that. So you can see 22,000 people, 39,000 people, and 274,000 people further east, somewhere in Sikkim, Assam, Nepal, Sikkim, and Nepal. So this is the scenario that we have today. When you have an earthquake, this is what happens, in mountains, they collapse so easily. 2015, 250 people died in that village. You see here, there is nothing left, and landslides, and this came down and then buried that whole village and then killed 250 people. The last earthquake early warning system is possible, and we can save lives. This is what I just wanted to tell you, and I close it here. Once again, thank you so much, and then also I would like to acknowledge my thankfulness to Dr. Arin Basak and also the organizers and to the chair for giving me a few more minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. So give us a moment as we felicitate. I would, Professor Ukreti. Sir, sir, excuse me. So just give us a moment. We will move.
Professor Upreti really, kept us mesmerized to the board, and I haven't come across such meaningful diagrams and videos, sir. The things become so apparent and so clear. Thank you, sir. Just a moment.
I request the scholars to please come forward. We will do the felicitation of the chairperson as well as the speaker.
We now go back to our original program. Professor Sarafraj Anand will speak on what does it mean to teach geography at a post-truth world.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, everybody. So, the topic of my lecture is clearly visible to all of you. The teaching of geography in different phases of its evolution has faced different kinds of challenges. In the early phases, in the infancy phases, geographers were hampered by, geography teachers were hampered by lack of data. And subsequently, geographers and geography teachers had to face problem of updated data. However, in the contemporary time, in the present time, we are facing the challenge of abundance of data. There is overflow of data. There is data and information everywhere. So now the challenge before us is to find out which data is useful to us, and then there is also a further challenge that the information that is available in public domain, including in books, not all informations are scientific and factual. Many of the information that are there in the form of knowledge, so-called knowledge, are in the form of fiction, emotions, and narratives which are highly political and biased. So this world is now popularly known as post-truth world. We are living in post-truth condition. And geographers, like any other social scientist, even scientists, have to face many challenges. Now, in order to overcome those challenges, we need to be even more critical in our thinking, and we also need to be intellectual. We also need to show intellectual humility when it comes to teaching transition in the classroom. And finally, we also need to show what we call organized disinterestedness. That means our personal faiths may be important, our personal opinion may be important, but it should not be mixed with the objective reality that we are having the responsibility of transmitting in the classroom. So with this background, I would like to first define what post-truth is and what does it mean to say we live in the post-truth condition. And then nowadays people are working on what is post-truth geography and post-truth cartography and what kind of challenges that we are facing in the present time. And I have some maps, very, very interesting maps to share with you. I hope you will really like those maps. And we, even in present time, as teachers, we are facing some of the challenges of post-truth condition in our classroom. So, sir, next slide. So the term post-truth refers to a socio-political condition in which objective facts and rational discourses are increasingly subordinated to emotional appeals, personal beliefs, and ideological loyalties. So ideological loyalties, personal beliefs, and emotions have become more important than the facts. The truth is defined more by its affective and ideological resonance than by its alignment with verifiable reality. That it doesn't mean that truth does not exist. It only suggests that the society is increasingly unable to agree on what that truth is because we are very uncomfortable with truth. When it comes to our own religion, our own belief system, our own nation, our own ethnicity and language, we become very emotional and science and facts are thrown into the dustbin. So that is the challenge. This is becoming increasingly important issue because when the state is very, very authoritarian, particularly globally, you can see everywhere, whatever you are saying, whatever you are writing, it is available in the public domain. So if you write anything against a practice or an activity of a state or religion or an ethnic group or any other community, then you are, even a region, you are a vulnerable person. You can be, you may have to face some uncomfortable consequences. So some commentators have said that now we are living in the post-truth world. Next, please. So as I told you that emotions, belief and identity prevails over objective data in shaping the public opinion. Facts have lost their currency in the public debate, serving as a political beacon of disinformation. Individuals tend to cherry pick data and come to whatever conclusion they want to come at. And next is, individuals are more receptive to information that confirm their pre-existing views, what is called information silos. So we are very comfortable if we have the information which we like and we are comfortable with. And the rise of there is growing skepticism towards science, journalism, and traditional expertise, including institutions. The rise of populist leaders, social media, and intentional creation of misinformation using AI. These conditions actually make it difficult to secure shared and verifiable text. And even if we have hard facts and there are software which are used to verify the content of an information, but by the time the alternative facts come, the imaginary facts are there in the public domain. So teaching and learning of geography have not remained untouched by this development of post-truth world. Now let us try to understand how will you define post-truth geography. Post-truth geography refers to the manipulation of spatial information, maps, and environmental facts to serve political, emotional, and ideological agendas, after often disregarding objective evidence and scientific verification. The deliberate rejection of scientific consensus regarding geographical and environmental changes, like all of us know that there are a lot of concerns among a section of political leaders about the phenomena of melting ice caps, rising sea level, and then there are also cases of manipulation of borders and territories based on political narratives rather than cartographic realities. So we have cases of like building a wall between Mexico and USA. Then the issue of Greenland is there, and then also the issue of whether it should be called Mexico Bay or Bay of America. So many things are happening in the contemporary time. Then there are legislations taking place in democratic states which these legislations restrict the environmental research in policy making. So Greenpeace movement, environmental advocacy groups have been discredited and disregarded not only in the developing country but even in the developed country of USA and European nations. So there is a spate of fake news stories that create false perception about a specific and often contested locations of population designed to influence public opinion. Next, please. So now cartography in a way is also a part of geography because it has evolved with geography. So post-truth cartography refers to the use of maps and spatial data to shape public opinion through emotions and belief rather than objective facts, eroding trust in traditional geographical, scientific and political information. And then in this era, maps are increasingly used as a rhetorical device to promote political narratives, propaganda and disinformation, where authority and believability replace accuracy. Like as I said, that now Gulf of Mexico is said named as Gulf of America. Next please. Now here I would like to take two examples, climate change and the example of international migration, where how post-truth information and post-truth quote-unquote knowledge creation has shaped narratives on climate change and migration, not only in developing countries, rather in so-called liberal democracies of the world. So let us first take climate change. Now today social media platforms have emerged as a powerful tool for dissemination of both credible information and falsehoods regarding climate change. So two kinds of falsehoods are there. One is misinformation, the other is disinformation. Now climate change, it's one of the most urgent global challenges of the present century, and we need accurate and reliable information on climate change for policy making and also for identifying the challenge, the problem that it can create for people as a nation. However, there are deliberate rejection of scientific consensus regarding climate changes, including melting of ice, sea level, and consequences of climate change. Next, please. So here you can see some of the examples, like Trump says that climate change is a kind of greatest con job ever perpetuated in the world. This is the greatest lie. That's what he says, that climate change is totally false lie, and it's the greatest lie ever perpetuated on this planet Earth. Similarly, he said that green energy policies as a scam and has pressured the country to abandon them and arguing that they are causing national failure. America has withdrawn from the Paris, agreement, arguing that international climate agreement damages the US economy. Next, please. So this is one thing that, because America is a superpower, still a superpower, and whatever opinion it builds, it affects everywhere. All the top media houses, including Twitter, X, Google, everything is there in America. So whatever they will spread, it will be spread like wildfire. Now let us talk about migration. In the last 1 decade, there has been movement of refugees from countries like Libya, Syria and Iraq to Europe, particularly Europe. And this movement of refugees is because of the intervention of the Western power in these countries. These countries, they had their problems. They may be dictators in some way or other way. But these are not the only countries which are dictators. There are many countries, they are dictators, but because of the fact that they are not friends of the USA, they are not the friends of the USA, and therefore they are evils. And because of intervention of USA and other European countries, these countries experienced worst form of conflicts, and as a result, there was a refugee crisis. And you must have seen some of the images that a child floating in the Mediterranean Sea. And such, now large number of people moved to Europe. Now public discourses on this international migration was dominated by myth, such as linking refugees to terrorism or viewing them solely as a security threat. And then you can see far-right movement in almost every country of Europe. Australia, even New Zealand, which was otherwise a very peaceful society, Canada, USA, everywhere there is an anti-immigration movement that is taking place. Because the narrative around international migration is being created in such a way that these refugees, basically many of them are refugees, some of them are migrants of course, are viewed as aliens, threat to the security, threat to the economy of the state, threat to the culture of the state. These are the narratives that are being created not only in media and popular discourses but also in the academia. So, next please. Now, this is one example. This is a typical what we call migration arrows. You know, these arrows are made to show the trend of migration. Now you can see the very width of this migration, this arrow, width of the migration arrow, and the kind of color that has been used, this red color. The image that we get from this map is that these migrants are going to swamp the entire Europe. They are going to cover the entire Europe, they are going to conquer the entire Europe. So this is one of the, why red color? There could be any other color. Because of the fact that red color is the most attractive color, it would instantly draw your attention to. Next please. Again you can see, as if there is no Europe, only migrants are there. So this cartographic manipulation can have very powerful consequences on public opinion. Next please. Now this is another kind of cartographic manipulation that happened before the Second World War. During the interwar period, this is called Nazi cartography. So here you can see how German people were made to believe that it is under threat from Czechoslovakia, Poland, and if enemies have surrounded Germany and they are trying to hegemonize and conquer the entire Germany. And that's how they instill a sense of patriotism and nationalism in Germany, and that ultimately led to what we call expansionism in Germany, resulting in Second World War. Next please. This is another map. I don't know if it is visible. Now you can see this is a map which is a kind of looking at America through the lens of ethnicity. Who is original and who is not original? Who is white and who is not white? So this has three components. Area remaining mainly white, Aryan occupation, areas of expanding aliens, non-white occupation and settlement, areas of heavy concentration of non-white forces. And you can see both from the west side, you have Pakistanis, Indians, Burmese, Chinese, Malaysians, then Cambodians. They are all entering into USA. From the east side, you have, from the south side, you have Latin Americans, Mexicans are entering into USA as if they are going to conquer the entire, culturally conquer and politically conquer the entire USA. So this is another form of cartographic manipulation that is happening. Next please. So this is a map of USA, very creative map. This is a branch of what we call critical cartography. This is a very creative map that how the white-only immigration refugees as developed from 1887 to 1929. So there is a very clear-cut policy in the USA that they try to promote white settlement, migration of the whites from the Europe and other parts of the world. But what is happening is that You can see here, 92% of all USA admissions between 1899 to 1929 were from Europe. But increasingly, more and more non-white people are migrating to USA. That is the narrative that they are giving. Earlier, this is a white land, and earlier whites were only migrating to this land, promised land, but now increasingly, and that is a considered a threat. Next, please. This is the Trump's America. The same map, the same policy that continued up to 1929 is now visible in the Trump time. So next, please. So what would be the way forward? I would say that there was a very famous article by Richard Morin, and I think all of us must read this. This is published in Professional Geography, 1984. He identified 6 responsibilities of geographers, and these are our responsibility to truth, to the discipline, to the environment, to the community, to the society, and to humanity. And scholarly integrity and social responsibility are very much interconnected. You cannot be a great philosopher and a scholar without having anything to do with society. You have to have a humility as an intellectual. You have to have a kind of approach that links society and academics in a seamless connection. So in the prevailing post-truth condition, truth-telling in geography classroom is a great social transformation act because the students are exposed to all kinds of social media news, WhatsApp chat, Facebook, Google, artificial intelligence, so many, and where misinformation and disinformation are rampant. Now they come to the classroom with kind of questions that is otherwise not, it defies all geographical logic. It defies all geographical intelligence, Next please. So we can take a look. How can we navigate it? One would be that we can take it as a publisher. But now even reputed publishers are withdrawing books. Any book which becomes controversial, publishers like Penguin, they have been forced to withdraw books. Similarly, check other sources, try to verify it, ask experts, validate the source of the image when given, check location and time, be careful with images not giving exact dates and locations, it will be hard to verify those. And most important, as a geography teacher, we have to use our geographical intelligence and wisdom to identify what are facts and what are fiction. That is very important. It comes with experience, it comes with reading, it comes with our alertness in the classroom. That we have to be very careful. Next, please. Now, this is 2-3 maps are there. I'll just wind up, please. 2-3 maps. This is a map of the British Empire. Cartographically, absolutely perfect. This is a great work of science. But now you can see there are only 2 colors. One is red, and in red color are shown all the colonies which were under the British sovereignty. Now imagine this map is being there in all the classroom of British colonies. Then what kind of image the children will develop? बर्तानिया में कभी सूरज डूबता ही नहीं है. Sun never sets in British Empire. And British Empire is so present, so powerful, it is present everywhere, in every part of the world. It is virtually impossible to defeat British Empire. So that is the kind of image the Britishers wanted to create. So this is one of the ways to cartographically manipulate things. But this is scientific, this is a very much scientific map. Next please. This map defies all cartographic logic. There is no cartography in it. But this map tells the truth. Okay, next please. Next please. This is another map. And this is, okay. Now I would like to, yesterday someone asked me to read a few poems.
It's very fascinating, but we have time.
Okay,
Only
okay,
the thing
then-
that's
then
I really enjoy your lecture.
I'll stop here.
I'm really enjoying. I tell you.
I'll stop here, please.
No. You just conclude.
No, I
Please conclude. Please
conclude. I can conclude.
Is this the conclusion?
Yeah. I mean, the way forward,
Okay.
what would be the way forward? So the way forward is that we should have intellectual empathy in the sense that one should be critical in our introspection, whether we are in the classroom or outside the classroom, and also we should show some form of empathy that there is what we call in brotherhood, then solidarity, and this brotherhood and solidarity approach is a very powerful approach which is actually ignored in geographical scholarship for a long period of time. So with these words, I will stop there. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I ate up all the time of my co-panelists. Thank you.
No, it was very meaningful and really enjoyable speak. And the whatever you amassed, all these diagrams, I mean the cartoons and whatever the maps were really good, really good. And I think we all have understood what he has wanted to convey. And it's very true in today's post-truth world. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed a very interesting session. Now I would like to request our scholars to kindly felicitate Professor Sarfraz Alam, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Next, we have with us Professor Gopa Shamanto from the University of Burdwan, and sir will be presenting on the topic New Geographies Beyond Boundaries, the Convergence of Urban and Rural. Sorry, it will be Professor Gopa Shamanto, madam. I apologize, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello?
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see so many faces in the auditorium on the third day. But it's good to speak on the third day, so you know whoever is present here, they're really eager to listen to you. That's also my privilege. I would like to thank the organizing committee, Dr. Arindam Bosha, and other faculty members of the Department of Geography, also the President and Secretary of IIG for this kind invitation. While deciding the title of this topic, I was trying to think what I can contribute to the title of the conference itself, Geography in the 21st Century, Navigating Trends. And I tried to collide with my own research experience on urban studies. The title of my talk is New Geographies Beyond Boundaries, the Convergence of the Rural and the Urban. I am engaged in understanding the field of urban geography in India over the last 3.5 decades. And it started from my own PhD research, and my supervisor was Professor Lahridar. And then I carried out a number of research projects on my individual capacity and with a lot of collaborative research teams. And I have mentored more than a dozen of students who has worked on urban studies. So whatever I am going to present here, my understanding of the urban in India is a collective process, starting from my own mentor to my PhD students, and I acknowledge all of them. I have used two key terms here. One is new geographies, and the other one is rural-urban convergence. By new geographies, I would like to mean that the changing nature of space and spatiality in the context of both rural and the urban. Boundary project is not new in geography. It has very old root. Since the time of Arrhenius, systematic and regional came up in the 17th century. This route has led to further dualism down the evolutionary path of geography, both in approaches and in the content. These binaries are many: nature, culture, land and water, rural and urban. The list is long. I'm not getting into that. In the system of binaries, we often take it for granted that these categories are fixed, non-negotiable, and cannot translate into each other. Now the question is, can we really observe these boundaries, the dividing lines, in our grounded research? The answer is no. It is getting more and more blurred. 21st century is special in a sense that this century is being affected mostly by flows, networks, and mobility due to spread of neoliberal economy and the process of globalization. This century is the century of the annihilation of boundaries. I use this deliberately, the annihilation of boundaries, especially in the academic discourses. In 1961, the dividing lines between these two kinds of settlement in India was very sharp. Natural buildings, pakka kacha, roads, metal, non-metal, infrastructure, presence or absence of water supply, services, presence and absence of sanitation, health and education, culture, different way of life, different way of speaking, the community living, etc., etc. So rural and urban was completely different, and it was very clear to us. Social structure was also very different in rural and urban areas. However, things have changed a lot since 1961. The economies and the societies of the rural have undergone a tremendous change and which has made the boundaries between rural and urban a little problematic. The theory of planetary urbanization has been developed to explain this new situation. Brenner and Smith, they are writing over a longer period of time since 1912 that how this entire planet has become globalized through the cultural globalization and economic liberalization. In this backdrop, I would like to explain the problems in binaries and boundaries and provoke you, the young scholars, to question these boundaries in your own research. First, I would like to take the case of rural and urban livelihoods. We clearly divide it. The question is, livelihood is a basket concept different from the income. In understanding livelihoods, we focus on households rather than the individual, where different individuals might be engaged in different types of activities and can be in both rural and urban locations. They might have farm income supplemented by jobs in cities and towns. It put challenges to us. Where do we put them? Is that a rural livelihood, that household, or it's an urban livelihood? Should we consider the location of residence, or should we consider the location of the work? We have rural and urban commuting, and rural and also urban to rural commuting. And this level of commuting has increased a lot in the last 2 decades. Many researchers like S. Chandrasekhar and Ajay Sharma, they're bringing up a lot of research on this field, how the commuting is increasing. Then the question is, how do we categorize those livelihood strategies who are commuters, living in one place and working in other areas? Are those rural livelihoods or the urban livelihoods? People live in villages of Murshidabad district, might be working in Delhi, Surat or Thiruvananthapuram, and the family is run by the remittances sent by them. How do we categorize them, rural or urban? Next comes the commuting, and what commuting does, it's not only blurring the boundaries between the place of work and place of residence, it also does a lot of another changes, it brings another changes in the social and cultural lives of the people. The development of transport infrastructure has facilitated commuting to a large extent and even over longer distances. Non-remunerative farm sector and the expansion of informal service sector economy in urban areas have boosted rural to urban commuting. These commuters play a major role in changing the social and cultural norms and practices in rural areas. Bhashati and me, we have a work on commuting, but I don't see much work on, but it is done quite 10 years back, but I don't see any other work is coming up on commuting in the geography itself. They observe the lifestyle of city people and bring it back to the villages. Urban way of life is spreading to rural, and it is blurring the boundaries as well. Now the question of urban economy and rural economy. What were the proxies? Urban economy was perceived as linked to industrial and tertiary sector activities, and in contrast, rural economy is linked to farm and allied activities. The people in rural areas are no longer solely engaged in farm activities due to the declining returns from the farm sector. Non-farm sector activities are increasing in rural areas. putting questions to rural economy. The industrial activities are no longer part of the urban territories. Industrial activities have started to move to be anchored in rural areas along the transport corridors connecting big cities and the ports. But at the locations away from the cities. Why? Because due to the pollution, the stringent rules on pollution, high land prices, the new industrial activities are moving to rural areas. How do we draw the boundaries then between rural and urban economy? Is the industries are in the rural areas and the non-farm sector as well. Now comes the question of cultural globalization and the rural-urban convergence. The cultural transformation of rural areas are happening at a faster rate. As a consequence, the contrast between the rural and urban lifestyle is reducing. Urbanism is no more limited to towns and cities. Television, smartphone, internet-based social media are also bringing direct transformation in rural areas, especially in the cultural front. The new consumerism has huge impact on the material conditions of rural life. Social media advertising, online shopping has significantly changed the rural lifestyle. Rural-urban boundaries are bridged in material conditions, in the consumption pattern, and in energy use. The cultural transformation has facilitated by increased incomes, higher level of education in rural areas, changing family structure, intergenerational occupational mobility, improved market access, greater exposure to media and technology, and this influence of globalization and urbanization ultimately led to rural-urban convergence. However, it is not only the rural changing. The urban is also facing huge challenges from the rural when they get into the urban territories. The city like Noida, people are working on the urban villages in Noida when the Haryana villages are incorporated into the Greater Noida plan. I was recently reading a very nice book. It is called Sehar Mein Gaon. It is written by Ekta Chauhan on Delhi's urban villages. When I read these books, when I see these works, I think, why only sociologists are carrying out this work? Why not geographers are doing it? So we also have another categories like in India, we call census towns, we call town panchayats. Then where do we put them? In which categories, which boxes, rural or urban? These are literally in between rural and urban and challenges the binary of understanding categories. In defining urban, we use some demographic parameters. And those parameters are set in 1961. Those are no doubt relevant to 21st century. And then how we are going to address, how we can incorporate it, the change in the social and cultural lives of people in defining urban itself. So there are lots of things we have to work on. And then I come which can be our theoretical framework for understanding this convergence between the rural and urban. I would prefer to say that hybridity can be a very good conceptual framework for these kinds of study. And this hybridity, what it does, although Sarah Whatmore tried to, when she wrote the book called Hybrid Geography, she tried to question the binary between nature and culture, which we used in our own work, the book called Dancing with the River. We defined those boundaries of land and water. We defined those boundaries between nature and culture. But I think that hybridity can be brought in as a conceptual framework to understand these binaries, to break these binaries and between the convergence between the rural and urban. Although, now the question is, why geographers we are not interested in understanding these problematic situations of spaces and spatiality? My understanding is we are stuck somewhere in the approaches and in the methods. We are in all curriculum, we have the evolution of geographical thought as part of the curriculum, and we are teaching those approaches since critical geography developed in 1961, humanistic geography, radical geography, and everything. But when it comes to our research, we are still heavily biased towards quantitative techniques, quantitative data generation, mapping techniques, GIS remote sensing, now AI and machine learning. And sometimes I encounter with the scholars who are working using machine learning, and when I see probably he is representing a space which is very close to my own understanding, like a village in Bankura where from I come. So when I question that how, this is not the reality you are trying to present, and their answer is, machine learning has given this data. Then where we are standing? We are going to, because of our feasibility of some methods, that we don't need to go to the field, have enormous conversations with the people living there. We will go to try to understand the new geographies which are emerging in both rural and the urban areas, or we will continue with the binaries and the old methods we are carrying down. So the thing is, and the problem is somewhere else. Because if we look into the curriculum, I have done quite a bit of research of curriculum of different universities, and I was seeing that everything starting from GIS, remote sensing, sometimes AI is going to be incorporated, and also something machine learning will come up. But where are the qualitative methods? Where are the social theory framework? Otherwise, if we don't get those, then how we can proceed towards understanding these new geographies? So practically what I'm trying to tell here from my own experience of working both with the rural and the urban, that things are changing. Each and every space is changing at a very faster rate. And like I was reading another book, like When Village Goes Mobile. It's the impact of mobile phone on the village community, how rich the study is. And these are being done by sociologists. Why not by us? Because we are crippling our young researchers not to expose themselves to the other research methods, which would be very, very useful. So I can only say that this was my things to contribute to this conference, to provoke young geographers to try to think differently, try to understand how critical geography works. It's not good we go for a binary and kind of linear relationship we try to portray, because nothing goes linear in that way, even if we try hard to prove it with our old data we collect from there. And always I say, because I'm still in the field, I'm very much engaged in the field work, and the more and more I'm understanding that getting data is not so easy when you go to the field. So what methods do we have? We have methods which can help us to understand how informally we can discuss this method and we can generate the data. We have to develop our methods, and I always convey my own researchers, my PhD students, that you are a spy. You have to get the data. You think about, you develop your own methods. I have no problem, whatever methods you are using. But that data must be authentic one, and the data you have to retrieve from the field, from your in-depth empirical research. I think that we can contribute to the field. I think we can survive for a longer period of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Samant. Your thing was very meaningful. And what you had said about, applying AI, ML and things like that, we will have to use common sense. Whatever is coming out from the computer, we should accept that. We should apply our geographical knowledge, which is very, very important. As you have seen in your students, we all are seeing in our students the same thing. And it was I really enjoyed your entire lecture about this rural and urban, this amalgamation, really, the Sahar Mein Gaon, as you had said, the name of a book. Thank you very much, sir, ma'am.
Thank you so much, madam. Your words have added great value to today's session and has given us so much to reflect upon. Now I request our scholars to kindly felicitate ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we have with us Professor Ledfurlang Kaji, sir, from the Department of Geography, Northeastern Hill University. And sir will be speaking on the topic, Impact of Climate Change on Forest Ecosystem.
Thank you, Chair, for inviting me to deliver this lecture. Very good morning to all of you. It's the third day and everyone must be tired having 2 exhaustive days, and we have to spend this third day too. Well, at the very outset, I'd like to apologize. In fact, I'm very thankful to the organizing committee, especially to Professor Arindam, for inviting me to this seminar, IIG seminar. Well, I like to apologize at the beginning is that during the discussion, when he called me and informed me about the invitation to this seminar, they said, would you please prepare a lecture? I agreed to that. I said, okay, I will prepare a lecture. Now, when I thought of a lecture, what was in my mind was a lead lecture in a technical section. So I prepared the lecture as a lead lecturer in a technical section. It was only when I reached here the other day that I realized that it's a plenary session, which then, it falls apart. So please bear with me this morning, though my speech would be more in a lecture form rather than as a plenary session. And I hope you can throw some light on the impact of climate change on our forest ecosystems and a little bit of Northeast India. Well, I will start with that climate change is a natural phenomenon. And when we say it's a natural phenomenon, is that we have seen down the ages, geological time scale, has shown how climate change has affected planet Earth. Now, at this present generation, we are talking much about climate change. Yes, it is natural, but let us understand one thing, that it was then also our human activities or anthropogenic activities that has triggered us to this extent of global warming, which there's a raise up to 2 degrees centigrade. Now, if it is not much of anthropogenic activities, we would have delayed this situation by around 250 years. So we are catching up 250 years ahead of where we should be. Now, because of this, there has created a lot of confusion, okay? And the greatest which we see is in the environment through our forests and our forest ecosystems, where what was before and what is changing now through migration of different types of forests from the warmer to the cooler areas has created a lot of confusion in the forest ecosystems. Well, let's come to the first slide. Now, looking into climate change, yes, main aspect is that of global warming, and what follows is altered precipitation. There's so much of extremities which we see with regard to rainfall, with regard to temperature, and also to dryness. And secondly, what also is that there's a rise of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And these have led to modification of the forest physiology, the range in a species, and the disturbance that happens. Now, when we talk of plant species, we have what is known as a zone of tolerance. A zone of tolerance to particular species at particular regions. In the tropical areas, there's a particular zone of tolerance, also in the subtropical areas and all the other regions. And once it crosses this zone of tolerance, then we see that there is a negative impact on our forest ecosystems. The species weakens, the reproductive activity is affected, and a lot has been affected. And what happens is that the original species starts to diminish. And then we see newer species coming in, okay? Whether it be formed in secondary species, or there is migration of species that takes place, what we see due to climate change. Now, these also we see that there is then an impact on the productivity, okay, on productivity, and this is short term. There is a lot of increase in tree mortality and largely affected with our ecosystem services, be it water, be it water regulation, be it timber production, or biodiversity as a whole. Now, this has been a great concern. In fact, when our ecosystems, our forest ecosystems are being affected, we are living in an environment where we need forests, and our climate forest has a direct impact, okay, affecting the climate of and if our forests are being affected, everything gets affected. That is why then comes climate adaptation or forest adaptation, where there is assisted migration, where new species are being planted, which are more resilient, which will adapt to the changing climatic conditions, and also the field management. Well, what is very important is that forest conservation is still needed. But how to really strike a balance with these forest management strategies, where policies are to be brought out, be it with respect to carbon accounting or landscape planning. Now let's come to the next slide. We will look into some of the key physical and physiological mechanisms. One is, as what we discussed, warming, altered precipitation patterns. Then we have carbon dioxide fertilization, disturbance regime changes. Now, increased average temperatures has changed the growing season length and metabolic rates, be it at the higher latitudes or elevations, where moderate warming can initially boost growth. That is a very temporary phenomenon. And where there is also an increase in the water limited regions with increase in evapotranspiration, causing a drought stressed regions. Now, this has highly affected the various species found in different forest types across the world. There's also nighttime warming and seasonally affects the phenology, that is with regard to the leaf outs and the flowering, where it reaches a lot of mismatches with pollinators or herbivores. Coming to the second, that is the altered precipitation patterns. We have total shift of rainfall, be it there are areas where we have wetter winters, we have drier summers. These we are seeing the changes that is happening nowadays, and extreme events in rainfall patterns. Distribution has been highly affected, and that has greatly affected the soil moisture and seedling establishment. Then coming to carbon dioxide fertilization. Now higher atmospheric carbon dioxide can improve and increase photosynthesis and water efficiency. Now the carbon dioxide fertilization effect potentially boosts growth, but the benefits are limited because the nutrients, be it nitrogen, be it phosphorus, and there are also water and temperature constraints. And there are therefore long-term effects which are highly uncertain. The acclimatization and nutrient limits reduce sustained gains. So another physiological mechanism or physical mechanism is the disturbance regime changes, where warming and drying often increase wildfires, its frequency and its intensity. We've seen the wildfires in Australia, we've learned that in Los Angeles, they have created a lot of impacts, the livelihoods of the people. And followed with that is the pests and pathogens where it expands poleward as winters gets milder. Now the pests, the insect pests, we see that they are moving polewards because the areas are getting warmer. As species also moving polewards, so are the pests and the pathogens. And this have had a lot of impact, and the drought stress trees are more vulnerable to such impacts. Following with storms, landslides, ice events may also change the frequency and intensity. Let's come to the next slide. Let us look into some of the ecological consequences. First is this species distribution and the community composition. Many tree species shift ranges poleward and upslope. Migration rates of trees are generally slow relative to climate velocity, increasing risk or regional mismatches. Now there are also competitive balances where species adapted to warmer, dry conditions may replace cooler adapted ones, where invasive species must also establish, and what we see more in forests nowadays is the invasive species, new species that comes to invade the forest and they replace the primary forest. Second ecological consequence is productivity and the carbon dynamics. The net primary productivity may increase in some higher latitude forests initially, but heat and moisture stress can reduce productivity elsewhere. Also, increased mortality from drought, pests and fire can convert forests from carbon sinks to net carbon sources for years to decades. This is a great concern, where carbon sinks are being converted to net carbon sources and having a great impact on the general environment. The soil carbon responses are complex. Warmer soils increase decomposition rates, potentially releasing stored carbon, changes the litter quality, and group dynamics also matter. Next we come is to biodiversity and ecosystem functioning. That is the next slide. Habitat fragmentation and climate stress can drive local extinctions, particularly of specialists, and slow dispersing species. Now this functional diversity declines, altering nutrient cycling, pollination, and resilience. And we come to the next, that is hydrology and watershed services, where forests influence stream flow, groundwater research, and water quality. The changes in the canopy cover, evapotranspiration, and snowpack timing, which has earlier melted, alter seasonal water availability and flood regimes, where in some regions, reduced snowpack and earlier melt lead to lower late summer streamfall, affecting water supply for ecosystems and people. And the last is the soil and nutrient cycles. Increased decomposition with warming can accelerate nutrient cycling but may deplete long-term soil organic matter. Okay, accelerating of nutrient cycling will not in fact be positive, have a positive impact, but in fact in the long term it depletes soil organic matter. Drought reduces mineralization and nutrient availability, and the wildfires can volatile or mobilize effects. Let us look into some of the examples with the cascading effects in the next slides. First example which we see with climate change and which is occurring very often now are the wildfires. We have seen the wildfires in Australia, North America, the increase in the pests and pathogens, and drought increased dieback. However, what we can understand is that these are being more frequent, which we see are attacking our forest ecosystems, and drought has been a great concern. Now let us come to a little bit just to touch with regard to the forest ecology of Northeast India. Now the forest ecology in Northeast India is basically tropical evergreen vegetation, where we find mainly in the Assam and Arunachal valleys, semi-evergreen, subtropical, broadleaf and pine forests, and also mountain cloud forests. It is one of the top biodiversity hotspots in the world, with having an annual rainfall of between 2,000 to 4,000 millimeters. Now there have been a climate change signals in Northeast India. Come to the next slide, please. Observational data from IMD and regional studies show that the Northeast has warmed by around 0.5 to 1.2 degrees centigrade in the last century. Rainfall patterns have become more erratic, shorter intense monsoon bursts, and longer dry spells. The winters are warmer and extreme rainfall events are increasing, causing flash floods and landslides, with a warming rate of 0.02 degree per year. And there's a decline in the total rainy days by 4 days per decade. Now, the major drivers affecting these forests are temperature rise, altered rainfall patterns, extreme events, carbon fertilization, increased pest and disease outbreaks. Now, I will not look again back into the ecological impacts and forest structure. Let us come a little bit in touch into some of the states. Let's come to the latest slides. We'll come to Arunachal Pradesh. Please change the slide. Arunachal Pradesh contains about 60% forest cover. However, warming and changing precipitation are causing attitudinal shifts where the tropical species are now encroaching into temperate zones. So we see the migration of species from tropical to temperate zones in Arunachal Pradesh itself. Its drought-dependent forests such as in Tawang and West Kameng are losing moisture from reduced cloud formation and erratic rains. So there's a tree-line shift of about 100 to 200 meters for the past 40 years. Looking into Assam, next, just minutes. Assam floodplains like Kaziranga and Dibru-Saikhowa faces dual threats, flooding and drought. Increased flooding frequency affects sow, forest regeneration and elephant habitat connectivity. At the same time, there are longer dry seasons, makes grassland prone to fires. And lastly, let us look into Meghalaya and Nagaland. In Meghalaya and Nagaland, climate change amplifies the stress on community managed forests, erratic rainfall and soil erosion, reduce fallow regeneration. The traditional June cycles shorten due to population pressure, leaving soil degraded and forests more flammable. where there is a lot of burning. In fact, from next month itself, in the June fields or in the bun cultivation, where there's a lot of burning that takes place basically in most of the agricultural areas, going to the forested areas of both Meghalaya and Nagaland. Well, I'll stop here. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Kaji, for taking, you just methodologically, very methodically categorize, the climate change and effects on the forest ecosystem with this reference to the Northeast. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an engaging talk. And now I would like to request our scholars to kindly felicitate sir. Thank you so much, sir. Moving on, now we have Professor A.K.M. Anwar Azuman, Department of Geography, Alia University. And sir will be speaking on the topic Environmental Displacement, Out-Migration and Livelihood Vulnerability, Evidences from Bank Erosion, Padma River in Murshidabad, India.
Good morning, everyone. Chairman, sir, I never knew that I will be put in the plenary session. I thought that I will be mere spectator joining the session, and at the most I will be chairing a technical session. But when I found my name in the plenary, I am little shaky and little vulnerable. And while I have chosen the topic to talk about...
Sir, you are never shaky, you are never vulnerable.
So while I have chosen to talk about the vulnerable people, why did I say that I am vulnerable? Because I have chosen an area on which, particularly the physical aspects, there are stalwarts sitting here, Sunandoda himself, then Sunilda, and then the human aspect, Didi is there, Gopati is there. So amongst them, speaking about a little problematic. Anyway, but I have a disadvantage, few disadvantage, but I have little advantage also. What are the disadvantages are, as I told you, that I am not good in physical geography, I am not good in remote sensing GIS and machine learning and all. But the strength that I am having, I call myself to be Ganga Putra because I born and brought up on the bank of river, I got nurtured along the river. So I am having a lot of understanding of river, and as you know that Padma is like the downstream of Ganga river. So I am having that strength. Now, all of us know that this river bank erosion is for many years. I remember Professor Kundu sir might be faintly remembering. There was a presentation, sir, in the downstairs in the lounge, the SSS1 lounge, where there was a presentation by Central Flood Commission, and the presentation, the person who was making presentation, he said that for many years, whatever expenditure we have made in the name of flood protection, we could not do anything. In fact, the flood loss has increased every year. So, I have taken up the issue of the people who are suffering along the Padma River, right bank of Padma River in the Murshidabad district. And all of us know that because of this erosion, bank erosion, people are getting displaced, and they are losing all their, not only the livelihood, not only the agricultural land or homestead land. Along with that, they are losing the, like even the settlement, the emotional attachment to the land. And the area that I am talking about, this is along the international border of Bangladesh. So when you have this type of vulnerability, then you often lose the identity also. If you find the SIR, the non-mapped people and people who got the notice of verification of logical discrepancy and all, you will be finding that large number of people are from this area because they are suffering from the identity crisis because they don't have permanent papers with them. I remember Sunandoda will be remembering Kedarnath Mandal. He used to say like this, that during his, and Gopadi also will be knowing, I mean few days back he has passed away. So Kedarnath will be saying that he shifted his house 5 times during his lifetime. I am also having similar type of story, but not in the one lifetime. My family shifted 6 times along the Ganga river, and because of that I said that I am having little step. So when you lose your home, when you lose your land, so till yesterday we were Raja, now you have become Fakir. Maybe that the people from other country will not understand. This is the popular saying in Bengal that if you are living along the bank of river, then today you might be Raja, means you might be king, like you might be wealthy. But very next day you might be Fakir, means you will be a beggar because you will be losing everything. Okay, so along with this, I would like to say that this problem of riverbank erosion is getting aggravated globally, at least on the macro scale. It is getting aggravated over a period of time, and this particular aspect of climate change has also creation or the resulted in aggravation of the situation and suffering of the people. Now, the area that I am talking about, it starts from Farakka barrage and goes up to the Bangladesh border, all the city blocks along the Padma river. I am talking about this area, particularly the blocks that I have listed here. This place is like quite densely populated, and mostly it is a Muslim population. I mean, numerically majority population is a Muslim. And if you see, this area is socio-economically, educationally quite underdeveloped. And for the information of other people from other states, particularly, let me tell you, Malda and Murshidabad, these are the 2 districts which are numerically dominated by Muslims, and these are unfortunately these 2 districts which are most backward in terms of education, in terms of socio-economic conditions. Recently, Uttar Dinajpur also is probably joining in this club, becoming numerically dominated by Muslims. Okay. Now, yeah, so this particularly stretch of river, this river is having very high, you can say, propensity of erosion of bank, and this has been aggravated by the construction of Farakka barrage. It used to be earlier also, but later on, after construction of Farakka barrage, it has aggravated because the sediments that are like first flushed out of Farakka barrage, because of the low discharge and the seasonality of river, the sediments get settled in the lower stream, and you are having this problem aggravated over a period of time. So there are a few photographs where which will be showing the areas that I have visited. This is like September month. This village is called Ratanpur near Lalgola, and then you can see. I think. Many people who are witness to this type of area, otherwise it will be very hard to believe that people are breaking or dismantling their own house. It happens only in this type of area that people, like, everybody loves their home, but then when you destroy your own home, it's dismantle your own home, it is so painful. Believe me, I was literally weeping when I was talking to these people when they are dismantling their own home, because they know that whatever little they can carry from the river bank, otherwise next day they will be fakir, as I told you, they will be a beggar. So, yeah, this is the area I am talking about. Most of the photographs from either Samsarganj, Suti area, that is the second and third block downstream of Farakka, and some photographs are from Ratanpur of Lalgola city block. Yeah. Now, as I told you that I am not good in remote sensing GIS and this physical aspect, but we have tried, with my help of my research scholar, I have tried to sort of tracking how the river had shifted over a period of time. We wanted to start from 1990, and we wanted to come up to 2025. So these are this is the scenario. only here you can see the three villages have been located. Mistakenly, actually, 3-4 more villages like the Devaipur, Thoribona and Ratanpur. Those are in the other blocks, little southward. Those also villages I have visited, and the data have been collected while talking to the people and interacting with them. Now I will show you some of the photographs. When this, this is a screenshot from Google Map. So what happens, when the villages are eroded, people are forced to withdraw, or you can say displaced, and they build their new settlement. And with the kind of emotional attachment that they have with the previous settlement, when they form new settlement, they keep the same name. So I have some examples you can see where the same name is repeating. You can see the village was used to be like the previous Krishnapur, and you can see the present Krishnapur, similarly the Hijoltala, earlier Hijoltala and the present Hijoltala, and then you can see Loharpur earlier. That used to be the original location of the village. Now it has shifted. And then Sunandada have visited, I think 2 years back he visited all those places, Husainpur, and then you can see quite a few number of, good number of examples are there where you can see the same place have been eroded and the people have shifted to other places and they have kept the same name because of their emotional and psychological kind of attachment. Now, because of this phenomena that is going on, you can find out that large chunk of land is being eroded, and because of that, several thousands people are becoming homeless, their livelihood are being destroyed, and they are forced to shift from their original inhabitants to the new place. Now, when they are shifting to new place, naturally they are losing their livelihood as well as the infrastructure, whatever they had created through government initiative or their own initiative, all are being affected and all are being destroyed. So you are having several examples of the villages are being repeatedly eroded and submergence because of repeated flood, and then this phenomenon or this particular sequence of event, there is settlement, dislocation and dismantling, the schools are going on. There is a very interesting example of a school. If you go to Malda district, just the places that I am showing, other side of the Ganga river, there is a school named Khapra Diara Davanapur school. So actually Khapra was primary school one, another was Davanapur, another was Diara. So now 3 schools have been merged together and it has become Khapra Diara Davanapur primary school. So that is the kind of dislocation and destruction it happens. Sometimes the schools are closed also. In one of my publications I have shown like several schools have been completely closed. 3 Gram Panchayats have been Ganga River. So this type of havoc Ganga River and Padma River plays. And because of that you are having this increased marginalization and poverty. But this is not the end of the story. As I told you that this is the place I am talking about, the international boundary, and boundary though on the paper it is existing, but physically you cannot demarcate properly because of this riverine condition and the flooding condition. So BSF is there, border guards are there, but the true kind of the effective kind of vigilance could be very difficult, and because of that, all this type of illegal trade and smuggling, the drug peddling and fake currency racketeering, this human trafficking, the cultivation of opium, these type of things are also practiced in this area because this patrolling might not be effective sometimes, and sometimes all of us know that there might be some kind of understanding also, and this type of illegal activities go on. So there are estimations like during 1988 to 94, particularly the Akhriganj area and Thoribona, you have so much of destruction. Around 80,000 people have been displaced, And then 2024 only, I was talking about Ratanpur village near Lalgola block. So around 1200 people have been, forced to relocate their, habitants because of this river bank erosion. So this displacement is going on, and then there is a large number of people who are now known as the erosion refugee. Now this is a sort of trend, you can say, and the figure 250,000 during this 1988-94 year to the 2016-23, this period, you are having at least this more than 2 lakh population have been dislocated or displaced from their original habitats only in the Murshidabad district. So further beyond 2023, there are now the studies have been not been completed comprehensively, so that data is not available. But the places that I have visited for last around 2 to 3 years, not less than around 20,000 more people have been displaced because of the river bank erosion. Now, as I told you that because of this factor, they are losing their livelihood and the marginalization is going on, and they are also losing their identity, and because of that they are facing a lot of problems, particularly because of their border location along the international border. And they are forced to take different type of livelihood options which are not related to essentially the land. Earlier they used to be agricultural worker and cultivator, but now they are forced to take up different type of other livelihood options. So the kind of survey that we conducted during last 2 to 3 months, we found that on an average the people who have displaced, on an average they have lost 5 katha of land. 1 katha is 700 square feet. So this 5 katha of land, and there is a record of maximum losing 2 bigha. So this is the amount of homestead land and the agricultural land that they have lost, and then the occupational shifts have been from agriculture to daily wage earner and the lease farming or the petty trade. And the out migration, there is very, very serious problem of out migration. When they have lost everything, they are leaving the place and they are moving to Kerala and Maharashtra and all those places. Yeah. So 2 more minutes, sir. 2 minutes? Yeah. I'll finish. I'll finish within time. So they are trying to adapt different means to to adapt in the changed condition in terms of migration from the original place, and that is working as one of the means of adaptation, and they are going to shift to different new type of occupation, and there is some kind of community based resilience. They help each other, and that way they want to they try to adapt. This is the kind of occupation that they have adopted. Certainly this out migration is not occupation, but then that is we have put in the category. When they are going to different states, they usually get involved in construction work and the domestic help, transportation, etc. Among the destinations where they have gone, we found that they have moved to Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Odisha, and within West Bengal, the places that we visited 119 households who have moved because of river bank erosion during last 2 years, and we found that they have moved to Uluberi and Siliguri also. And most of them, around 80% of them, they have become the construction labor who were agriculturalists otherwise. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I will skip this. Yeah. I will skip this also. Yeah. Now, along with the loss of property, livelihood and all, if you recently see the dropout rate, particularly in the higher education, it is surprisingly very, very high. I am not saying this is only one reason. There are other reasons too. There is no denial about that. But if you see the colleges along this area, you will be finding that the most of the colleges, even 50% seats are not full, filled, because the people are, because of loss, losing their homestead land and agricultural land and the settlement, they are now sending their children to the different states for, to have earning or the having finding livelihood. And because of that, you will find that there is very high level of, a dropout, particularly in the higher education. Now, government is always trying to find out some kind of way to provide temporary kind of relief, temporary compensation, and building embankment and bank protection. These are fine. But as a person, as I told you that I have born and brought up on the bank of river, and what kind of understanding that I am having, I believe that this engineering type of solution is not going to solve the problem, at least in the longer period of time. If one has to find a long-lasting solution, probably we need to, I'm just finishing, there's the last slide, sir. So, what we really require to do is that this riverbank erosion is not yet considered by government to be the disaster. So first thing we have to recognize it to be disaster, and then this erosion, affected people, their identity, their location and their need has to be recognized by the government, and then this sustainable livelihood rehabilitation program has to be floated by the government. And what I strongly believe that instead of spending so much of money to build the embankment and all, because Suranada probably will be agreeing with me that if you are going on raising embankment, so river bank also will be raising. So over a period of time, instead of Ganga flowing, it will be in fact flying. So flying Ganga you cannot ultimately control. So once there will be the breach of the embankment, so everything will be washed away. So that it cannot be a long-term solution. What could be done is that pay to the punished. Punished means the punished by Ganga, you can say, or the natural force. So the people who have been punished, they have to be compensated. As I gave you the example of my family, we shifted at least six times, which I have record of the history of my family. So the people are having emotional attachment to river. They will not move far away from river. They will come back again and again, and they will settle along the river. The places that I have shown you, very close to river, they have again settled. And again river will be, eroding that village, they will shift to only nearby. So instead of spending money on concrete construction, we can probably compensate to the people who are getting affected. And we have to find out the alternative element. The last point that I will be making, the last one, it used to be, as per 1956 Land Reform Act, it used to be like this: if your land is eroded, then you will be owning the land for 20 years. Beyond 20 years, it will be wasteland. But now, in the year 2011, it has been modified, and now it is, the moment your land is eroded, it will be wasteland. You will no more the owner. So this has to be, I think, changed, and this provision of 1956 has to be brought back so that the local people are benefited. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
These were really some fascinating narratives from the Ganga. To some of us from the Ganga, from West Bengal, this thing is never old. This issue is never old, never dated. Okay, and I know Professor Anwar Jaman for long because I know many people in his family, and no one knows this place better than Anwar and his family. And they have, where not, almost many villages we have relatives, and whenever we go to Murshidabad to see these Ganga side localities, we go to first to Anaruzaman to find the contacts, right? Starting from the north of Dhulian to, completely towards the south, okay, to Bamunabad. Now, okay, thank you very much for this presentation. And I also request just one thing. I also remember that our first visit together was in 2000.
Yes,
Manikchok, if you recall.
You, me, and Manatosh from Manikchok to Panchanandapur. Manikchok to Panchanandapur.
Yes. And that was the time I first knew you from, fresh from JNU, right? At that time. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We truly appreciate the effort and time you have put into preparing and sharing your work with us. Now I would like to request our scholars to kindly felicitate sir. Thank you so much, sir. Next, we have with us Dr. Amitanshu Pattanayak from the Defense Research and Development Organization, New Delhi, and he will be speaking on the topic Emerging Early Warning Systems for Landslide Monitoring and Mitigation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Esteemed Chair, my dear colleagues, it's my great honor to be here, and I'm thankful to the organizer to inviting me for this conference. As I can understand, it is totally out of syllabus because as an electronics and instrumentation engineer, so it's quite difficult to be in this forum, but I would like to try how to cope with this forum. And when I joined DRDO, that is Defense Research and Development Organization, around 2001, it's a long back, 25 years back. At that time, it was quite a new area for me. But now, it's with advancement of technology, like emerging technologies, so it is quite good thing that I can understand the talks and all the emerging research that is going on in the field of geography. Defense Geoinformatics Research Establishment, which is one of the laboratory of DRDO, that is situated in Chandigarh, and there are so many centers, you can say. And I am from Delhi, and there are so many centers like Tawang, Sikkim, and so many places in Arunachal, Himachal, and Uttarakhand. So why it is required, this geoinformatics? Because we are in collaboration with ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, and with data that is we are receiving from ISRO, and we are just modulating them as well as modeling them to give some output in a tangible manner to the industry and indirectly to our soldiers, our troops. Why it is important? Because as you know, our soldiers are deputed and the northeastern part, and then Himachal, then Kashmir, and then also in Uttarakhand region. So it's a mandate from Indian Army that we should do something along with Border Road Organization so that our product will be used by them, as well as those products can be utilized for some emerging kind of technologies. Particularly while landslides, because statistically it is seen that our troops are facing so many casualties because of this landslide and avalanches. And apart from that, there are so many disasters also. So DRDO is contributing to much towards disaster management, and how that we will see in a small clipping. I will not be taking much of your time, and it will be more of like visual clipping only. So could you please? So in this we will be seeing some of the products that we have developed for various kind of disasters, and which is being used by our troops.
DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, is the premier body in India that works in various areas of military technology, which include aeronautics, armaments, combat vehicles, electronics and communication systems, missiles, naval systems, materials, computational systems, and life sciences. On one hand, DRDO is fulfilling the requirements of the nation of cutting-edge weapon technologies. And on the other hand, DRDO is also contributing towards disaster management, reduction and mitigation by providing various aids, instruments, and technologies. Nature's decree is unpredictable, and India is prone to various types of disasters. India is a land of varying geographical attributes. There is the mighty Himalayas in the north. There are plains which are watered by rich rivers. And there is a long coastal line in the west, southern, and eastern regions, which makes India susceptible to all types of natural disasters. DRDO endeavors to manage disasters by predicting possibilities, by rescuing the victims of disaster, and by in disaster management through technologies like avalanche and landslide prediction systems. These include armor, automated and remote monitoring of landslide, mobile app for landslide alert, interactive landslide simulator ILS, regional SMS-based system for landslides, and Orison, the decision support system for one of the biggest challenges is to find and rescue people buried under the debris. For this purpose, an acoustic life detector, Sanjeevi, has been developed to detect human beings still alive and trapped under the debris of collapsed buildings. During earthquake, another big problem is to rescue people trapped in tall buildings and where fire could have broken out. For this, DRDO has developed emergency escape chute. People can jump into this and slide down safely. There are many more products of fire safety like aluminized fire proximity suit, lightweight fire approach suit, lightweight fire proximity suit, portable water mist gun system, and fire retardant intumescent paint, which does not allow fire to sustain. DRDO has also developed a helmet-mounted thermal imager, which provides vision to firefighter through dense smoke, and the hands-free approach of the product makes it effective during firefighting. Another big natural disaster which frequently strikes Himalayan region is avalanche. To facilitate rescue operations in this rough terrain, products available are rope climbing, combination harness, cord avalanche, splint inflatable for use in event of leg injury as first aid measure in extreme cold regions. Once rescue is done, then the person is placed in bag-carrying rescue and evacuated. If in case time has to be spent in glacial areas, then the tent glacier has been developed along with survival blanket designed to be used under sub-zero temperature conditions. In the cold environment, to provide hot food, flameless heating bag for food warming, and food container plastic have been developed, which can be used to provide hot food in disaster-struck areas. Crevice Crossing Bridge is a technology designed for a load up to 550 kilograms. The bridge is launched across the tracks manually. Similarly, the steel foot bridge, including its launching system, is used to bridge dry or wet gaps up to 35 meters with a pathway of 0.8 meter width. It bridges the gap between mountains and is also useful during floods to cross rivers. During rescue missions, the 5-meter short span bridging system is mechanically launched to bridge smaller gaps and canals. In coastal belts, floods and cyclones are frequently visited disasters, which sometimes cuts off an entire area from the mainland. At this point, the infantry floating the bridge becomes very useful in rescue operations. It is used for rapid crossing of rivers and canals during various operations. The system allows construction of a 100-meter floating bridge sides of the bridge are innovatively designed so as to be used as a boat or even as a speedboat during rescue operations. Underwater depth and bottom hardness indicator, Tarangi, is a device used to determine underwater depth and is useful during underwater rescue operations. Another useful product in this line is the synthetic life jacket Mark I, which protects personnel from drowning in water. Among the amazing technologies developed by DRDO, there are some which are useful during all types of disasters. The unmanned aerial vehicle, NAVA, can reach places where it is not easy for humans to go and provides a bird's eye view for search and rescue operations. Multi-purpose speed port and stretcher is used to rescue people from disaster site to a safer place. After disaster, people are homeless and living in fields. They are exposed to insects and reptiles. Products developed to help people in this stage are snake repellents, which are useful in avoiding snake bites. Moss Out, a natural mosquito repellent vaporizer. Aeromos, herbal mosquito repellent spray. Mosswood, herbal mosquito repellent cream. And a mosquito cider, cot and net to provide shelter to the rescued people. Inflatable shelters have been developed. It can be set up anywhere. An amazing thing about these shelters is that they do not catch fire. All this was related to rescue operations during natural disasters. But what about man-made disasters? There are many technologies developed by DRDO labs to counter such situations, like explosive detection kit, in short, EDK, handheld standoff explosive detection system, preemptor, the remotely operated vehicle, ROV launch. It is used for activities like bomb detection and disposal, handling hazardous material and suspicious objects. DRDO has also developed various technologies to cater to chemical, nuclear, radiational and biological emergencies. A few of them are robotic chemical agent monitor, door frame gun radiation detector, GPS-based pocket dosimeter, a microbial water testing kit, multi-purpose decontamination system, mobile decontamination system, water or liquid radioactivity contamination monitoring system, NBC, water purification system, which is ROPS, food radioactivity contamination monitoring system, integrated DRDO water testing kit, and water testing field kits. Remocorn skin decontamination wire is used for removal of radiological contaminants. Skin decontamination kit should be, which can be used by quick response medical teams. There are various other technologies developed to provide help during NBC, that is, nuclear, biological, and chemical disasters. These include Royal Chelometer, portable low-strain meter, pocket dosimeter, NBC suit permeable Mark IV, and NBC decontamination suit. All these innovations are just the tip of the iceberg. DRDO, with its vast network of more than 55 laboratories and research centers, is gearing up to further contribute its expertise in national disaster management. With its all-India network, including labs in geographically diverse locations, DRDO is well placed to contribute to building systems that will save precious human lives during natural calamities. DRDO, holding hands, times of disaster.
So these are some of the products that we have developed recently, and this is just tips of the iceberg, you can say. And many more we have already developed for our troops. They are being used successfully and test tried also. And our work is basically experimental. That instrumentational part, installing various kinds of sensors and taking real-time data. Although we are working for geospatial data also, but like drone survey and all kinds of practical aspects, we are just getting data, and those data that you can say near real time, that is being fed to various kinds of models that is indigenously developed for with our laboratory, and that is test trial. So you can see this is basically various laboratories of DRDO, 58 laboratories all over India. Starting from north, that is Leh Ladakh, we have Defense Institute of High Altitude Research, and even northeastern part, there is one laboratory in Tezpur, DL Tezpur. They are also working for bio-related hazards and disaster management. This is short introduction of my organization. And the idea was established in 1958 along with 5,000 odd number of scientists all over India. And we are in collaboration with Navratna companies, HAL, NAL, and NTPC, ONGC, you just name it, and we are on board with them along with ISRO and Department of Atomic Energy. So what we are doing in-house, just in a nutshell, I will be talking about. This is Metcalf House where I belong to. So these kind of technology that we are working, this is all swarm technology. That is basically swarm drones are there. So to visualize the avalanches and landslides, nowadays we are getting this kind of technology where AI along with hyperspectral imaging is being done. And deep learning models also, and these are all application oriented, like UAVs deployed in Himalayas where we are working. These are all drones for landslide forecasting and risk mapping, like AI LiDAR topography. We have LiDARs, and which is incorporated on various drones, so that we are getting very high resolution data, and time series ML models also, and defense utility that we are doing. And these are all drones for flood prediction also we are working. I'll just go quickly once again. These are all AI-based bathymetry mapping, and there you can see this kind of coastal mapping are being done, and where we are getting various data along with AI predicting how coast erosion is going on. This is the early warning system that we have taken, the project Urushpati, where the PI, it is a project of 60 crore, and it is being done with various laboratories. It's a matrix system, and these are the areas that we have covered in the northeast, like Sikkim area and northeastern part. I'll go quickly once again. These are large size sites with even Jammu Kashmir. These are all sites. These are all practical photographs that we have taken. Landslide site is to other road axis also. This is the second phase that we have taken along with Indian Air Force as well as Military Intelligence 16 and MI6 that they have given this task to us. And this is the basically schema of how we have installed all the sensors and along with solar panel, because right now we are using renewable energy sources like wind energy as well as solar energy. So, and these are data logger and communication system. So, sitting in our daily laboratory, we are getting data with near real time data, and that is all encrypted. Now we are trying for quantum encryption so that it cannot be cracked by any enemy countries or enemy sources. So that's why this kind of new technology that we are adopting. So these are the all landslide inventory system. I'll go quickly. This is Google-based landslide inventory system. This kind of web we have already developed this kind of web, so that our troops only they just sense the things and they will just get to know. And with around 1 minute prior to that, they will get the information that landslide is coming. These are the all road routes we have covered. These are the project Uruswati, and this is the site, one of the test sites. There are so many sites, but I have given only one site. And this kind of board wells and installing sensors over there. So it's a very hard task. It's a Herculean task, you can say, because in the sub-zero temperature and with 0 degree, along with our Indian Army, we have developed successfully this kind of project. Yeah, this is the project. Only pictures, sir. That's 1 minute. And these are the data that we are getting real time. And these are all instrumentations that we are involved. This is a training process. These are some of the data that we have taken, old data and new data. The prediction modeling also very important, because how accurate we are. So we are going for AI/ML and along with hydrological modeling, and this kind of model we have developed with all mathematical detection. And these are the inputs, and infiltration runoff also we have taken care of. And the last slide, I think. Only last slide. Yeah, this is the model. This kind of model, slope stability model we have developed, and this is the early warning system that is for everyone. And last slide, please. Yeah, this is my contact. If you want any time, we will be collaborating with you because we are collaborating with all IITs and NITs along with all universities, central universities also. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair. Giving me 1-2 minutes extra.
No, thank you. It was a very nice work. We are, aware with the great work you are doing. And at the DTRL, thank you. We were with the DTRL some time back.
Yes.
Anyway, you were from the Medcabe house, what I found.
Right. Yeah.
Great to hear you.
Thank you so much.
And that brings to the end of the session with Dr. Patel. Just a moment, please. We will be facilitating.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful presentation. Now I request our scholars to kindly felicitate sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So this brings to the end of the session after 6 lectures, and we can have brief interaction. If you any question that cannot be asked during the tea break or lunch, is there anything? Dr. Upreti is still there, I find, so he may be able to answer something. Any questions for any of the speakers? If no, then we thank the organizers for having us here, and to all the speakers, and for giving us a great time, Thank you very much.
We extend our heartfelt thanks to our respected Professor Shunanda Bandyopadhyay sir for gracefully coordinating this plenary session. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable coordination and inspiring presence. Now, moving on, may I request the delegates to kindly join us for a short tea refreshment which has been arranged near the registration desk. We will begin with our next plenary session just after the break. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, there is.
ও চলছে কিনা একবার দেখে নাও, চলছে কিনা একবার দেখে নাও, কারণ অনেক সময় চলে না, না নাচ করে থাকে। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, বন্ধ করো, বন্ধ। থ্যাংক ইউ।
এখান থেকে একটা চলে গেছে তো after Ranu,